Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
So a couple weeks ago, we had a very lively discussion about the plot of Macbeth, or more, as we got into the plot of the Tanakh, of the Bible itself. As our discussion showed, the Torah, as well as the rest of the Bible, is not merely a collection of different stories or mitzvot of the commandments, but has an overarching theme that binds the entire story together, from beginning to the end. The end of the book, obviously. The story continues because, hey, we're still here. But now we have to come to the second most commonly known book in all of Judaism. The one you got in your hands. What's the plot? Is the Siddur just a random collection of different writings and sayings? Is it a hodgepodge of psalms and songs that have been put together because, someone thought it was a good idea? Is it a set of incantations teaching us the proper prayer in order to access the proper part of the divine sphere in order to get what it is that we wish and want? You can tell by the tone of my voice, the answer to all of those questions is no. That's not what the Siddur is. So is it just a set of crib notes to help us pray because we might not know what to say standing before the Almighty? And having something written out in more poetic language than we could come up with on the spot, that's just nice. Is it just a vehicle to fill the time so that we can be together as a community, to give structure to our worship so we're not only individuals? Those actually are all true, but are not the plot of the Siddur. That is to say this, the Siddur is a framework that provides a structure to express ourselves when our own words might fail us, and it is also a structure that binds us together as a community so that we are not left entirely to our own individual prayers and thoughts, but instead can share that sensation of being together. But that's not its plot. That's just one of the benefits of having the Siddur, of having a prayer book. So, what do you get from this book? I'm looking around, I see a lot of very familiar faces, both with this service, or morning services, or Sunday services, or all the different services we do. Many people here who have read through the Siddur, I know, multiple times.
Kabbalat Shabbat.
Kabbalat Shabbat, okay.
Which is meant to raise your spirit for the regular service.
All right, the portion that we just finished is officially called Kabbalat Shabbat, which translated means the reception of Shabbat, or the greeting of Shabbat. Hebrew always sounds a little more boring in English. And it is absolutely designed to lift us up from wherever we are during the week in order that we can experience Shabbat better. That is absolutely true, and that is pointing us in the right direction of the cumulative plot. Because for anything to be included in the prayer book, it does have to aim at that way. Now, different prayers and sections will have different emphases, and they will have different impacts on us, and they will have a different theme or take us into one particular area for a while, but the overall structure has to be pointing us in the same direction, or else it wouldn't have been included by the editors. It would have been on the cutting room floor. There are lots of beautiful Jewish psalms, poetry, and other psalms and texts that did not make it into the final draft. So what is the prayer book trying to do? What do we try to do when praying?
It's an orchestration.
It's an orchestration. Indeed, the word Siddur literally means Seder, as most of you probably know better in its form for the Seder of Pesach. It is an ordered structure, but it is an ordered structure to achieve a goal. And that goal ultimately is one that may seem a little obvious, but it's only obvious because you've been using the Siddur. So let me remind you again that the Siddur is not just a set of prayers that are designed to help us master the proper incantations in order to get what we want. The prayer book is actually a compilation of texts designed to reshape who we are so that we will know what we should want, and more importantly, then act accordingly. And what we should want is going to be defined in our relationship with God. The prayer book is there as a plot to tell you that, one, you can talk with God. You can have that communication. And two, by doing so, you should not consider yourself to be in the driver's seat. That is to say, it is not about how do I access God's goodies? How do I get to the payoff that comes from my service, my worship? This is not the ancient Mesopotamian sacrifices of 35 bulls and to ensure a good harvest. This is about changing yourself. Prayer in Judaism is very much meant to be a reflexive process rather than a purely petitionary process. The petition, in fact, comes very, very late because we are designing, our prayer book was designed in order to redesign our own sense of who we are, our place in the world, and what it is that we should be prioritizing in the world. We have just finished a section, as was pointed out by Aaron, that is called Kabbalat Shabbat, to receive Shabbat. Why? Because most likely we are coming in with the burdens of the work week. And the Siddur knows that if we come into Shabbat still carrying all of the clutter of the week, that we will be unable to properly open ourselves up to what should be our ultimate goal, which is the peace of Shabbat. Now, I know everybody feels that peace is, of course, universally agreed. Everybody wants peace, and yes, everybody wants peace, but nobody actually wants to do the work of peace, which is to do nothing sometimes. Right? Sometimes, like on Shabbat, we actually have to not do all the things that are preying on our mind that we imagine if only we could settle all of that chaos, then we would have peace. Sometimes we have to recognize that all of that chaos of during the week is not going to be settled by Friday night, and yet we still need to distance ourselves from it. We still need to lay it down. We still need to say goodbye to it and go to Shabbat with joy and gladness, not with regret and worry that we didn't take care of everything that needed to be done during the week that's just passed. Because if that is our intention, then when we hit Shabbat, it is only going to be seen as a burden, a barrier. That there are all of these stressors in our lives, and I have had to put them on hold for this service, for this Shabbat. And that means when I come back, it's like, coming back from a bad vacation, and now I've got work piled up, and I'm not even feeling rested. Kabbalat Shabbat says no. The world will be okay for a day. You will be okay for a day. And in fact, you will be better for not being engaged with all of that chaos. And you may in fact gain, through the timeless words of the Psalms and through the phrasings of our sages, a little perspective on what truly, among that chaos, deserves your attention and concern. Do you need to be so worried about the various politics in the workplace? Do you need to be climbing over each other because of the different stressors of finances? Or can we have enough? Can we be at peace even without those other issues being resolved? Or can we resolve them simply by saying, I'm not playing that game. I'm not chasing after someone else's idea of success. I'm going to use the benchmark that the Siddur lays out for me of what is success. The measures of gratitude tell us what we should be grateful for, but also what we should be looking for. After all, if this is what I am grateful for, the peace of my family, the blessings that God gives me daily, freely, then why am I worried about other things? Why am I chasing after other things? Why can I not just be at peace with that? The Siddur is there, its plot throughout, from beginning to end, to tell you that some of the things that you've been worrying about, chasing after, are not truly your priorities. That what you should recognize is that we are in relationship with God, and that by allowing ourselves to open up ourselves to what God is trying to speak to us, that we can reshape all of those various concerns, desires, pettinesses, angers, frustrations that sometimes burden us, and lay them down. This is why Jewish prayer is something done frequently. Right? Unlike the Tanakh, which I hope you do read frequently, prayer is set as a formal activity 3 times a day, 4 times on Shabbat. We get our bonus Musaf tomorrow after our Torah service, in order that we can constantly come back to this reminder, have that benchmark reinforced in us again and again, because our ancestors knew, and we should be honest, we know as well, without a constant reminder, without a steady resettling of ourself and our spirit, it is very easy to go off track. So yes, there is a plot within the Siddur. Each prayer works towards that overarching plot. And cumulatively, we are better for it. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat